Checking an object for square, most people tend to check in two spots, length times width, which is incorrect. You need to check from point to point on each diagonal. The standard tape measure doesn't always latch onto the outside. It takes time to check each corner. The longer distances you go, the more tendency it has to fall off, and you constantly have to check back and forth to make sure you're latched on. Attempting to check an inside corner, it's impossible because the shape just doesn't fit into the inside corner. Most people practice checking 1 inch. Take an inch, you go corner to corner, which works if it's a smaller dimension, but you constantly as well have to check back to make sure you haven't moved off number 1. Once you get to longer distances, you need the help of another person, which is time consuming and not cost efficient. They do make attachments on the market today that slip on. If you go into the inside corner, you have to add or subtract numbers once you get your dimensions. When attempting to hook on the outside corner, it doesn't really work too well. And if you do happen to get it to work, you still have to add or subtract dimensions. This attachment as well, which can get lost easily, actually has a swivel on it. It does grab the outside corner well, but when going to a certain dimension or steepness, it tends to want to pull off. Once again, having to add dimensions and subtract them is inconvenient. Inside corners are out of the question. Will not work. With this new enhancement, we have a triangular shaped tab that pivots from side to side. Easily latches onto the outside corner and swivels to any desired position, or rests on the inside corner and goes from corner to corner. So you can take your measurements with ease without adding dimensions or subtracting them, and without the help of another person. This actual one has tabs that come up so you can latch onto the underside if necessary. And smaller tapes, which are unnecessary to have that, can have smaller tips too, for different trades. Now, we'll check this real quick to see if we're true before moving on. That is correct a little bit. We'll bring that in quickly. Check this on. This over. Now we can check to see if our work remained true in one simple step without adding or subtracting or constantly looking back to make sure that your piece is latched on. You're nice and true. Now you can do your face frame work, apply your doors, do whatever you need to do without having to apply the back to make sure that's true. When you go to mount your doors, which have come from the factory, typically are square, but don't always assume that they're square. Most products that come off a machine are true. But once again, trying to check with a standard tape measure, constantly have to look back to make sure that you're not sliding off. And the steeper you go, the more tendency it has to pull off. Checking on number 1 is cumbersome, it's slippery. Adding the attachment just doesn't work with this one. Just too steep. This attachment, same thing, it's just too steep, wants to pull off, and if you are successful enough to get it on there, you have to remember to add or subtract your dimensions. With this new enhancement, latch on, take your measurement without adding or subtracting or getting help from anyone, and move on. That piece is nice and square. Put that on our piece. We now grab our other one. Do the same. Check real quickly to make sure that we're true. Looks good. Looks good. We're nice and square.